that's review for your exam 1. Okay, so your exam 1 will cover the chapter 1, sections 2.1 through 2.5 and 2.7. What you have been learning, right? Mainly, first thing we are learning in this class is what? Mainly is solving what? Linear equations and inequalities, right? So let's take a look. And first one, if we ask you what is meant by the absolute value of a number, how you will answer, right? So you go to your paper, take a look, then it says what? It is the what? The distance, formally we say this way, it is the distance between the number and 0, right? On the number line. That's how we define the absolute value. Then we will ask you, okay, what's the absolute value 5? That would be 5. Absolute value -5. It will still be 5. We need to just to think about those questions, okay? When you actually do it, you need to remember all those things, the meaning of whatever, right? So you take a look, the problem B, we ask you, what operations with fractions require finding a common denominator, preferably the least one, right? So when do we need to use LCD? Yeah. When we add and subtract fractions, right? Then we want you to think about it. What operations with fractions allowed you to reduce in advance? Also known as what? Cross-canceling. When do you need to do cross-canceling? When you do some kind of numbers, right, for fractions. So when we do the multiplication, we need to do that first. And number D, and problem D, write a rule for subtracting two numbers. Don't worry about rules, okay? But you need to kind of apply it. So it means what? If I have two numbers, we are doing the subtracting, right? So it means what? Same thing as you add two numbers, then the sign goes with the number behind it. Main thing is you need to know how to do it, right? 5 minus 8, that would be what? 5 and -8, that would be -3. If it's a -5 and -8, what do you think? Right? That would be your -5 and -8. Then that would be what? -13. If you have 5 minus -8, two symbols, two negatives together, it means what? Change. Then you do that, right? And next one, write a rule for determining the sign of the answer in a multiplication or division problem. So make sure you do it correctly, right? If the same signs you multiply together, you should get a positive value. If different signs together multiply together, so you should get a what? Negative value. And same thing for your division, right? So if this one Positive divided by positive, negative divided by negative, that should be what? Positive. If different signs, dividing, right? So that would be negative. If we have this one on your exam, we ask you what is 0 divided by 3 divided by 0, or 0 divided by 3. What do you think? Which one is 0? We say, be a wiser miser, don't use a 0 as what? Divisor, right? So you cannot use 0 as a divisor. So you can answer the question as what? Undefined or doesn't exist. Either way would be fine. Then 0 divided by 3, $0. Given to 3 people. Each person will have how much? None, right? Problem G, you need to be careful with this. Often you mingle them. Okay, what's the difference between first one and second one? First one, you have what? Parentheses with what? For the whole thing, and that's your base. For the second one, the base for square only apply to what? The 0.8, right? So this one means negative 0.8 times itself twice. So negative times negative, same signs, will be positive. 64, 8 and 8, but 2 decimal places. And this one is 0.64, then, but you attach the number to it, right? Next one, we will ask you to do a few numbers, right? With bunch, add, subtract, and multiply, divide. So we say you have to follow what kind of orders? You have to follow order of operations, right? So you do group first, then you do exponents, and you do multiplication and division from left to right. And you do addition and subtraction at the end, right? So you identify those addition and subtraction will be the last thing you will do. Then you will do the remaining different parts by itself and following the rules, right? So this one will be what? Negative 20, right? 2 to the third power will be 8. So you will have what? 3 plus negative 20 and minus 8. Is that right? Then you do it from left to right. 3 and negative 20, that will be negative is more. So difference is negative 17, right? And negative 17 and negative 8 will be what? Same size. And you combine them, use the common sign. So that would be negative 25. Make sure you handle signs correctly. You need all those to be able to do math, right? So look the next one. It looks very complicated, right? But you just need to do it one at a time. So look at this. You have parentheses many places, right? but we say you do it from inside to outside. So you will do inside first. Inside you have what? Subtraction and exponents and multiplications, right? Which one you should do first? Exponents. So what's your exponent? And -3 take a square. That would be what? Positive or negative? Twice positive. That would be +9. So it's best you rewrite the whole thing. So you just make things simpler each step. Then you decide which one you will do next. So what will you do next? Inside the group, then within the group, multiplication and subtraction, you will do multiplication first, right? Then you can rewrite again. This way you will have less mistake that way, right? Then what do you think you will do? Do the group, and -12 minus 18 is what? -30. Right? Two numbers without any symbol in between, but you only have what? Bracket or parenthesis. So what does parenthesis mean? Means what? Multiplication, right? So if multiplication we do that way, or you can say this way, it means what? Multiplication, right? Also, we use dot, then multiplication. Sometimes we use computer symbol for multiplication, right? If nothing in between, what does it mean? It means what? 53. Also, between two groups, if nothing in between two groups, but you have a grouping symbol, so if I have 5 times, right, if I have absolute value, there, what do I mean? Without any symbols in between, it means what? Multiplication. So this one is 3, so you have 5 times 3, that would be 15, right? If you have 5 and absolute value of -3, you do the group first, so that would be 3. So still, you have what? 5 times 3 is what? 15. That's what it means. Okay? Now, so these two numbers, and we multiply them, is what? -150. Then the bottom one is separated by the what? The line is what? Division. Then separated to two groups, top and bottom, you do it separately. -4 on the bottom, -4 minus -6, that would be what? -10. And -10 minus 2, that would be same sign, you combine it, -12, right? And take the common sign. Then, do we leave the answer there? Not really, because for fractions, we always need to simplify. Negative divided by negative is positive. Then you simplify. Can be divided by what? 3, right? So that would be 50 divided by 3 would be 4. Anything else? How about 2, right? So that would be 225. So that would be 25 over 2, positive. That would be the simplest form. Or you can change it to improper fraction. That would be what? 12 and 1/2. Either way would be fine. But usually we keep it as what? Improper fraction. So we are on the page 2, right? Then, if we ask you, what is the golden rule of the equation solving? Because this section, this portion we have been talking about mainly is what? Solving linear equations and inequalities, right? Equations, we use what? Golden rule to help you to remember. Then, in inequality, we use what? We use the silver rule, right? Then, for equations, we say, how do we solve it? You do one side, you do another side, right? We just kind of try to remind you, you do one side, do into one side of the equation, right? As you do another side, as you into the, right, the other. Then we use inverse operation into each other. That is what? If it's plus, you use minus, so you neutralize in one side to move to another side. Multiplication, you do what? Division. So, for inequalities, we use silver rule. So we say it's similar except something, right? So we say for silver rule, we do what? We will solve, for the purpose of solving a what? Linear inequalities, right? We will do it just like equations. Except, that's the main part of it, right? Except what? If we need to change the direction of the inequality, right? When we would do that? When we multiply or divide each side by a certain thing of the inequality, right? By a what? A negative number. It makes difference, right? Then we will change the direction of the inequality. That's the main difference between the equation solving and inequality solving, right? Let's do some more solving linear equations. Okay, so let's look at your next question on your page 3, number 1. So that would be x plus x, 2 times x plus 4 equals 3 times x plus 3 minus 7. Remember what to do? You do one side, you do the other, right? So first you draw a line. Before also, when you move things around, before you do that, you always do what? Make things simpler for you to continue, okay? So to make things simpler means what? No parentheses, right? Then also combine like terms. So you distribute first, then what do we have? X plus 2x and 2, right? You make sure you multiply 2 to everything inside. And this one will be what? 3x plus 9 equals minus 7. Then, make it simpler, we do what? Combining like terms, right? So this together will be 3x plus 8. This together will be what? 3x. Combine your numbers, right? Then move numbers over, so you're minus 8, right? So we have what? 3x here, and here 3x minus 6, right? Then move the variable to the left hand side to minus 3x. So what do we have? Don't give me 1x, because 3 apples minus 3 apples, you got a 0 apples, right? So that's your 0. Often you make a mistake here. Okay, 0, 0 minus -6. Is that possible? Not possible. If it's not possible, can you find the answers that will work for the situation? No. So we need to answer the question, what is our x? So you will say x is what? No solution, or you can say doesn't exist. Either way would be fine. Okay? Look at the next one. Do we have a linear equation? Yes. Y only has what? 1 power. However, what do we have? It's a fraction. Then we say, how should we handle the fractions in this situation? We get rid of it. How can we get rid of it? Multiply its LCD, right? What's LCD between 6 and 4? 24 will work, but that's not the smallest number you can use. Actually, is what? 12. Right? So you need to multiply 12 to each one, all the numbers you have in the equation. So first one will be what? 12 times 5, 6y plus what? 12 times 1 equals 12 times 1, 4y minus 12 times 3, right? Then do your fractions. Put the 1 underneath if you multiply fractions. Then before you multiply straight cross, you always what? Cross cancel. Then cross cancel with 12 and 4, that would be 1. So this would be 10y plus 12 equals what? 3y minus 36. Is that right? Then we use our golden rule. Move numbers to another side. Move variables to left hand side usually. So let's do the numbers first. So that would be what? 10y equals 3y minus 48, right? Then we will move the y over. Then what do we have? We have 7y equals negative 48, right? And get y by itself, divided by 7. So y is what? Negative 48 over 7. So that would be your answer. Go back to your homework if it's still open. So you probably want to take a look all those ones, you didn't do it right. Okay? If it's still open, you can just do it again and you can get every problem right and get a better grade, better score for, for your grade. So one is a fraction and another one is a special case. Usually you get one answer like this, right? Let's take a look next problem. And number 3 on your page 3, right? Solving linear equations. So let's just draw a line first, then make each side simpler. Okay? We distribute. So 23 minus what? 15, and negative 5 times negative become positive 5n. Right? And this side, so negative 4 and n, negative 4 and negative 2 multiply together is what? Plus 8 and plus 9n, right? And make it simpler by doing what? Combining like terms. So 23 and 15, that would be 8, right? And this one, negative 4n and 9n would be 5n plus 8, right? You can stop here, then you say you can stop here because they are what? Identical, right? Or you can continue if you didn't realize at the time. Then you continue to do it, move a number to the right hand side. So what do we have? Minus 8, we have 5n plus 5n. Then you can stop here again because they are identical. But if you just continue doing it, so you will do what? Minus 5n minus 5n. So you will end up with what? 0 equals 0, right? Then finally you stop. Still identical. So when we have identical situation, that means it doesn't matter what you do. Left hand side always what? Will be equivalent to the right hand side. That means whatever the number, letters mean numbers. Whatever the numbers you put in, you will always make them true or equivalent, right? Identical. So what kind of answer you can find? Maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 5, whatever the number is. So the answer you will do is what? You will say all real numbers or any real numbers, because any of them will work, right? So we did this 2 special cases. First one is what? No solutions, right? The last one is what? Any real numbers. Then we also reviewed what? A fraction. So the other things are more straightforward. So we did what? The more special one to review. Okay, so we say main thing we are learning is what? Solving linear equations and inequalities. One with what? Golden rule. One with what? Silver rule, right? So we did what? Solving linear equations. Now we will do what? Solving linear inequalities. Then we say use same way except one particular situation, right? For the silver rule. So same thing, we draw a line, make 2 sides are simpler, right? Make them simpler, then go from there. So we do that. Then what do we have? 9 minus 4n, negative 4 and 1 minus 4. Then this side is still 4. Do we change the sign? No. Right? Then make it simpler for each side. 9 minus 4 is 5 minus 4n, 4n plus 1, right? We didn't divide negative number, so keep your direction. Then what do we do? Move the numbers over. We have a negative 4n and 4n minus 4, right? Uh-oh, I was thinking, double check my numbers. Your question was what? 7 here, not 1, right? So, always double check your numbers. So that will be what? Plus 2. Should I change the direction of the sign? Right? Inequality sign? No, because we didn't divide a negative number. We just subtract. Then what do? Move the variable over this side. Then what do we have? This goes away. And this one will be negative an and 2. Do we change the direction of the inequality? No. Then what do? Get a variable by itself, divided by negative 8. And what do we have here? And what do we have here? Negative 1/4. Should we change the direction of the inequality? Yes, because we divided them by a negative number. So that's the first answer in general. Then second one, we say you wanted to answer with what? Graphing. So that's your negative 1/4. Then your answer will be what? Less than on your left hand side with parentheses, right? Then we also want you to answer the question with what? An interval notation. So that would be what? From here, super tiny number with what? Negative infinity. Right? And up to negative 1/4 with parentheses. Still remember your inequalities? You need to do this portion well because you need this for the rest of class. If you struggle with those and later on, it will be difficult for you to do other things. Okay? So, for the next one, we said this one would be what? Compound inequality. So if it's compound inequality, you keep the variable in the middle. Get variable by itself. And you do one side, you do everybody. Right? So to get x by itself, first you eliminate 3 first. Then what do we have? 2x here, negative 1 and 3, that would be 2. 5 and 3 would be what? 8. Right? And to get x by itself, we do what? Divided by 2. So that will be x, 1, and 4. Do we change the direction of the inequality? No, because it's a positive number we are using to divide, right? Oops, we just say no, right? So, saying that, doing that, sometimes they are not consistent. So, make sure we do it right. So, that's one answer. We do it this way. From smaller number to the larger number, we write it this way, right? Then, we graph it. So 1 and 4, they are in the middle. This one inclusive, this one parentheses. Also, we show it with what? Interval notation. That would be your 1 with bracket and the 4 with parentheses. Good? That will be our review number 1 for your exam 1. Make sure you have hands-on doing all this so you know what's going on, and just not just by listening. Okay? Make sure you have hands-on. So that would be our review number 1.